Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Kimura Life Podcast. This is my beautiful friend Samara.
Hello, I'm Samara Quintero. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also a certified hypnotherapist.
Mm. And more.
And more, and much more. Yeah, that's just the title of the book, you know?
Exactly. And so we were just talking and we're doing this episode extremely spontaneous. And
Yes.
we are just talking about spirituality and how spirituality is a huge part of mental health and grief as well, and all the mental health, but it's not often like really spoken about in session, unless you're really like a huge practitioner in and engaged in your own spirituality. So I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit more about what you do and how your journey in mental health has been, and how you've included this whole aspect of yourself of indigenous culture and wisdom into your practice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think even what you're touching on of like spirituality, where does it fit in the therapy room? Right?
Yes.
And I think I'll speak for myself, like in my own journey, like through my program. Um, there was a lot of different modalities that were taught: narrative therapy, solution focus, CBT, DBT, all the stuff. Um, but there wasn't really that wasn't addressed, that component.
It wasn't. It definitely wasn't. I remember in school, like, we probably did not even address like religious beliefs
Yeah.
or spirituality or that whole aspect of the person in session. And I think it's so instrumental to just talk more about
Completely.
me specifically doing bereavement care, grief care. We do go very deep into religious beliefs and spirituality, but I think that you take it to a different like approach in the sense of like indigenous culture and really engaging with like the medicine of your culture and really sitting with it and like engaging in it and embracing it. And also the way we met was through like a sound healing, and it just became such a beautiful thing and friendship. And so,
Yeah.
you know, when you are engaged in your process, how do you bring that into like the session? Like do you ask your client like, okay, what are your beliefs, or like is there a conversation that you go into when you talk about spirituality? Or
I will open up to that. You know, and
okay.
I think it's even important to decipher religion from spirituality. Like, what do those two things mean, right? What does spirituality mean in general, right? And so, at least in my own personal work, like what I've realized is like spirituality is just really learning to understand my own spirit, and then also learning to understand that my spirit is connected to the spirit of the earth, to the spirit of all beings, and how to be in relationship, essentially, you know, with my soul, with my spirit, and how to be in relationship with the world around me. Right?
Okay.
So, in terms of like indigenous practices, that's essentially was what they were teaching, right? Is how do we be in, how are we in good relationship with ourselves? How are we in good relationship with those around us, with our brothers and sisters, other humans, and then also the world, right? And then what are like the principles, right? So, in a way, and I think you were like touching on that earlier, it's almost like spirituality is such a big component of our belief system, right? Like when you're talking about death,
Yeah.
right?
Huge.
It's like, how do I perceive the world? And what are the values that I walk my life by? Right? So, spirituality, in a sense, is also like, what are the values that are my North Star, that guide my walk? Right? Reciprocity, honesty, right? Humility,
Yeah.
right? So I think that when we can kind of like take it from this like abstract word of like spirituality and really drop it into the earth, right? It's like, how am I walking in humility with life? You know, am I willing to ask for forgiveness when I make a mistake? Right? Am I being honest with myself and others? So it's like those like subtle ways that we can walk in integrity, which when people talk about in alignment, I'm walking in line with my values, right? In line with my beliefs, with my spirit. And that's the way I see it.
Yeah. So like practicing your own spirituality, connecting to the earth and connecting with everything around you and putting it out into the world, whether it's at work or personal, that is a way of you living. Like it's a way of living. So
it's a way of living, exactly.
Yeah. So then now into your practice, we introduce the aspect of values. What are your values? What do you believe in? What keeps you going? What is healthy? What is not healthy? And so like having these conversations and sessions.
Yeah. And I'll also ask, like, I'll be like, do you have a spiritual connection? And people will, you know, sometimes I'll leave it open, like, do you have a spiritual connection? And what I mean by that is, do you feel connected to the universe or to God or to nature? Or do you have any guides? And you'd be surprised, like, a lot of people, do have a connection to something. And so then that creates almost like a lifeline. Like when we do go into hypnotherapy, in those moments that feel like really spicy, you know, then we can kind of call on that lifeline to help the session, right? So when the client starts to get overwhelmed, it's like, okay, let's bring in the energy of your grandmother, right, to come and help us.
So it's like a coping strategy.
It's yeah.
It's like something that helps like regulate the nervous system in some way as well during session.
Exactly.
So the approach of, I see you getting a little nervous. Tell me more about how we can bring, or who can we bring present, such as a family member or someone that has brought them a lot of comfort and help
pets.
them. Okay, pets. Help them regulate their nervous system while they're processing something with you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so, like, I wonder because, for example, we met in a sound healing, and it's like, it was awesome. And I was like, I need to meet her. Because she was like, I need to meet Samara now. And it was like, wow, okay, how do we integrate sound healing as part of the therapeutic practice? And sound healing is often like a little stigmatized in the mainstream. I think
it's not given the respect it
deserves. That it deserves.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a difference between listening to music and sound healing. So I don't know if you wanted to explain that a little bit more. Like sound healing has a huge healing property and purpose. So if you want to like shine in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking about like indigenous practices, so like the elders have been working with sound forever, you know, different chants, for example, and you could see this in many different traditions. Chanting, mantras, singing, certain instruments that carry a particular frequency, right? So when it comes to sound healing, what's being done is that it's a particular technology that what's being done is that particular frequency is like touching into your nervous system, just like you said earlier, allowing yourself to regulate. So it's moving you down in a hypnotic way, in a sense. It's like moving you down from waking beta brainwave down to theta brainwave, which is where it's like that's the meditative brainwave, the hypnotic brainwave, right? So the frequency is like a conduit that helps to move the brain waves down, and then you can do work in that juice, essentially, in that frequency.
So I'm sure there is a lot of research into how that frequency can support like a processing moment for someone. Like if someone was processing a particular trauma or a particular situation, lowering it to that point where people are able to regulate
Yes.
while they are processing whatever that is.
Completely.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
Do you sound in practice as well? Like if you
if I'm doing
okay.
a hypno session, I do incorporate sound.
Okay.
So I incorporate sound in the induction portion. So like when we're going down, because what it's doing is lowering the brain waves into that theta brainwave, right? And then I cut it while we're doing the work, and then at the end I incorporate it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
To like regulate again.
Exactly.
Okay, to stabilize.
It's to stabilize, like to close the container in a good way.
Okay.
Yeah. So those particular frequencies, that's like what, for example, with my flute, it's a 432 hertz. So that's like the frequency of healing, right? And if everything is vibration, everything carries a particular resonance.
Wow. So you're really integrating the ancestral medicine into the clinical work that, it's interesting because it's a very integrative process. And it's often that we see therapists that are just stick to talk therapy, and talk therapy isn't necessarily the only way.
I think it's good to, like you said, integrative, right?
Okay,
Like there's a place to talk, right? And then there's a place to feel, right? And what happens is that, especially in our society, we're great being up here. We can talk and understand and be in
like
that
the analytical.
cognitive. Exactly. Like we're very much in that analytical place, right? And so what sound does is it drops you from the mind into the heart. Right. And that's where, if you want to really make sustainable change, is dropping into those deeper places, right? Connecting mind and body, right? So I not just understand, but I believe, but I experience, right? And so sound creates an experience, right?
Yeah. So, and there's a huge difference. Like music can do something for you, but I think sound healing is different. And people have sometimes say, "Oh, it's music therapy. Oh, it's sound healing." No, it's not. Music therapy has a whole modality, has a whole different approach.
Completely.
Sound healing is something completely different.
Yeah.
They could be similar sometimes, but it's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. Yeah. I think of sound healing as more of a technology, that a frequency is being utilized with intention, with a specific purpose, versus like maybe I'm listening to a song in my car and it reminds me of my childhood and it makes me feel great. Like that in itself, I think it has therapeutic value.
Yeah.
But to me, that feels more of like a spontaneous shift that's happening versus like, okay, I'm going into surgery and this is the scalpel we're using.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Intention, the piece of like sacredness and understanding, and like the knowledge of the frequency that allows for that person to understand that they're processing a particular situation in a particular frequency.
Yeah. And so then the power of chants, or the power of the Icaros, for example, that the maestros use in ayahuasca ceremony, is those particular Icaros have been channeled from the plants. So what they say is that every plant has what they call un mariri. And the mariri is kind of like the frequency, the song that particular plant carries.
Wow.
And so as you begin to build relationship with the plant, you get the mariri, you get the download, like the code from that particular plant. And so a maestro is someone who has he's dieted, or she has dieted many, many different plants. So they're kind of building relationships and absorbing codes from these different plants. So then when you come into ceremony, their Icaro is charged up with all of that coding and knowledge that they've channeled from the plants that they've dieted, that they've worked with. So then it's like a doctor going in with that scalpel, and the Icaro begins to move the medicine and begins to clean your body. But the Icaro is what works with the medicine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like a whole detail
I
did not know about.
That's a whole nother.
No, but that's
area.
A whole like realm like in itself,
Yes.
and it's this whole wisdom and knowledge of technology that is often like not seen. It's like
Completely.
overseen or not talked about or not really engaged in. No, like this is something that could really benefit people
Mm-hmm.
if they go deep enough to understand the technology
Mm-hmm.
behind the plants and like the processes behind each
Mm-hmm.
ceremony, etc.
Exactly, exactly. And so then the Ikaro, like you can learn someone else's, but really the power comes from when you've received it through your own diet and you're receiving it from the earth itself.
Yes. So that's a whole different journey.
Yeah, that in itself is a whole
Yeah.
different journey.
Okay.
But like in terms of sound healing, starting with instruments like sound bowls that are in the 432 hertz, flutes, different instruments that carry that particular vibration.
Okay.
Tuning forks are also really
Yes.
beautiful to use.
Yeah. Okay. And so thank you so much for
Yes,
sharing
of
all of this
course.
knowledge with me. And this is like, again, spontaneous, but we wanted to just give everyone some information and material about what we do, about what Samara does. And, you know, I see that in grief, there's this whole aspect that is missing a lot of the times, specifically with like integrating other approaches in when someone is grieving the loss of a person, the loss of a loved one, and like being able to integrate other perspectives or other things
Yeah.
like music, sound healing, somatic dancing, songwriting, poetry, arts, and music. Like all of these, sometimes talk therapy needs more. And so that's why, you know, I wanted to do this episode. And so thank you so much everyone for watching and listening. Samara, is there any place that you would like for people to reach you at or handles or
Yes, so you can find me at the Holistic Hypnotherapist. That's my Instagram handle. And I also have my website, conscioustransformationsllc.com. You can find me there. You can just Google my name, I'll pop up. You'll see me there.
awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Samara.
Thank you,
Have a good
Claudia.
one.